Welcome to the Lacrosse Journal, Chasing the Gold podcast, your destination for all things lacrosse. I'm your host, Kyle Devitt, in my basement office, and in whatever dwelling he is in, it's Owen Hart. What's going on?
I'm upstairs. You're down in the basement. I'm upstairs. You didn't know this?
Are we in the same house?
Yeah.
Oh, that's weird. All right. We probably should tell people that. What's going on, man? Well, we haven't done this for a little bit. How are you feeling?
You know, no joke. I used to keep like on my notes tab, like opening anecdotes, and I never used any single one of them. So I'm just going to take one from a while ago and start with this. We were watching game 7 of the NBA finals a couple months ago, me and my dad. And in the middle of it, he turns to me and goes, you know, I think I like the PLL more than this. And a part of me broke because I'm like the NBA guy. Like I'm the guy that has league pass and watches like Hornets Rockets on a Tuesday. But at the same time, the fact that my dad was like, yes, PLL, I was like, I almost cried. I was like, really? Do you mean it? For real and for true? And a part of me died, but then I was like, yes, one of us. So he's a little cross guy now.
If you think that's great, wait until he sees the NLL.
Because
speaking of that, I'm going to bring in our guest. That's called
great transition.
Segue. We have the Box Lacrosse guy on Instagram, Elliott Bender. What's up, man? How are you?
Good, Kyle. How are you?
I am excellent. I want to give a little background for those that might not know who you are. So I played in Lax Night a couple weeks ago. My elbow is still very swollen, but I knew I wasn't ready to play in it about a month before it was coming. And I was like, oh no, I need to learn more about box and also like get better and stronger and train better and like get my stick ready, because summer was not fun. I'm coming back from an ACL tear in 23 and I'm old, so it takes like twice as long. So I ramped up my training regularly, but also I was like, I need to learn more because I was going to play right forward. Usually I was transition, but I'm not big enough to play transition in Masters. Everyone's 200 pounds. I'm only like 180, 185. So I'm like working. I'm like, I have to play forward. I never had played forward. I was just the dumb American that ran back and forth and like played transition and got off the field really fast. And I still did that as a forward, but I stumbled upon your Instagram, which can you tell everyone what that is?
It's just at the Box Lacrosse guy.
Yes. And I went
TikTok as well.
And TikTok. I was like, who is this dude?
Yeah.
And then before I even got to that point, I was like, this is good. This wall ball routine is good. I haven't done this before. And I've been coaching for 20 years. And I'm like, I never thought to do that. And like I said before we started, I'm going to steal everything for my kids and myself, because I think it's very interesting, your approach, because you're not Canadian, correct? Okay, but you played MSL and Senior B or Senior A?
I played one game of Senior B and then I got signed to play Senior A.
Okay, cool. I played Senior B for like half a summer and I was not great, but it was fun. I loved it. And that really like gave me the bug to play box. What happened to you to get you to the point where you're like, not only am I so into this, then I'm going to do it, but I'm going to come from a different place and make a training like rubric out of everything. How did that come about?
Well, there's kind of a couple ways we can cut this cookie. So do you want to know the backstory on how I got involved with box, or do you want to know what drove me into creating the Instagram?
Backstory first.
Okay, sure. Cool. The origins, if you will.
Yes.
We need a good transition here. Sorry. You know, I got the opportunity to work with Shane Santos, who started the U.S. Box Lacrosse Association when I was about 19 years old. My little brother was enrolled in his programs. He had just started up. He was out in San Jose playing with San Jose Stealth at the time and was kind of trying to get box lacrosse started. So my dad came home and he's like, hey, there's this guy. He's awesome. He did this box thing. Your little brother was in it. My little brother's 7 years younger than me. So he's like, you got to go and like, see if this guy needs help. I think he needs help. So I just showed up at the rink the next week on like a Sunday morning in California. And I helped Shaden out. And so he kind of just, he's like, here, you have a job. I would basically just throw him balls because I didn't know anything about box lacrosse. And, over the years, we just kind of developed and he ended up opening up this thing called Calilax's lacrosse club, a travel club. And he invited me to coach on it. I was a first year coach at the time. And so I figured I'll learn all about this game. And we went to Calgary and there's this big Canada Day lacrosse tournament every summer. And we took our boys up there. And while I was watching his team play in the gold medal game or silver medal, one of the playoff games, I was standing next to a guy and he noticed that I was wearing the California lacrosse shirts and he started talking to me and he said, you look like you play still. Do you still play? And I said, yeah, I played 1 year of college. I'm back home and, I'd love to play box lacrosse. And he goes, oh, well, let me go take you over to Sudsy. And Suds is, just hanging out at the arena with some of his players, having a few beers. And this guy walks me over. I don't even know his name. Introduces me to him. He's like, this guy would like to play box lacrosse for you. And he's of age. And Sudsy, I think, was the junior A Raiders or Mountaineers coach at the time. So he brings me out for a tryout. I don't have any of my equipment. I don't know. I've really just coached a little bit of box lacrosse, but I don't really even know what I'm doing. I've just listened to Shaden the whole time. And they have me, I swear, for 30 minutes just run and catch the ball over my shoulder from the goalie while the team is doing whatever team stuff they need to be doing. And they're just watching me run. And after 30 minutes, they come up to me like, hey, just so you know, you could play anywhere you want. We'll make a phone call for you right now if you want to go. And I think he was saying he wanted me to go play for New West. Now, keep in mind, Shaden flew me up here. This is a travel lacrosse tournament that I'm coaching at, and I went to a tryout. So bizarre, right? And so I get back to the hotel. I'm sharing a hotel room with Shaden. Shaden has no idea what's going on. So I show up and I'm like, Shaden rolls in and he's like, hey, what's going on? I'm like, I just had a tryout. He's like, what? And I'm like, yeah, man, I had a tryout with this guy. And he said to talk to you and he's going to send me over to go play for the Bellies. And I'm like, he's like, whoa, first off, if you're going to go play anywhere, you're going to go to Ontario and play. And so, right from there, he, picked up the phone. He hit Jason Crosby up, who was a good time friend who was running the Clarington Green Gales at the time. He's like, I got this guy for you. He wants to come play. They signed me they signed me on the junior C card. So I played for the Shamrocks. I ended up winning a championship with them. I played offense mainly with the Shamrocks. And then I played every single junior B game. And I was more of a transition guy. They let me run up the floor and play offense if I wanted. But like you said, the offense to me at that point was so strange. There was no YouTube. There was no training. There was no direction. I had no clue what I was getting into. I had one practice, with the team prior to my first game. And I just went out and I ran around and I hit people and everybody seemed to like me. And I earned the name Sunshine pretty quick. From Remember the Titans.
Yep.
Yeah. And then their favorite thing to do was play California Girls every time I scored a goal or did something cool on the floor.
That's crazy.
Mhm.
I feel like box is the only variation of lacrosse where that's a story that's true.
Yeah.
Like you can just show, like, I'll tell this story. This is from so long ago. One of my friends was trying to get drafted to the NLL and he goes, I bought you a flight. And I'm like, what? And this is like Wednesday night, like a random Wednesday night. He's like, I bought you a flight. You're coming with me to Madison Square Garden for the draft. I was like, what draft? What are you talking about? He's like, you're going to just go and pretend to be my agent. Okay.
Yes.
And I'm like, do I have to wear a suit? He's like, probably not, but like it might help or whatever. And I was like, no, I'm not wearing a suit. So I get on the plane from in Boston. Like I drive down to Logan, we fly to LaGuardia, we get out and we get in a cab, we go right to like downtown Madison Square Garden. The draft is that night. So we're at the draft and they only blocked off 266th of the building for this draft. So like one room. And I'm in the room and I see him get up and he is talking to everybody. And I look around, I'm like, it's Joe Walters. It's like, oh, is that Kevin Lavelle? Are we at the NLL? I didn't understand what was happening. And he's talking to like a bunch of guys and he's pointing at me. And I'm like, why is he pointing at me? And we're sitting back down and like at some point, someone told me he wasn't going to get drafted in the broadcast. So he's like, all right, we can just like leave when everyone else leaves. He ends up getting drafted as like a faceoff guy.
Yeah.
But we went out with the first rounders. And I can't tell any more of this story, but it is very funny because several of those players were drafted by teams that they never ended up playing for. And when they give the hats out, I will say this, I won't say who it was. They have the hats in the suits as they walk out. And one of the guys took off his hat and gave it to the first homeless dude. He says, I'm not playing for that team. And like another dude did it, and another dude did it. I was like, this is so unserious and amazing. What have I gotten myself into? And then we flew back the next morning, and I literally was like, did this happen? I called him. I was like, did this really happen? He's like, yeah, man, you were an agent. How'd it feel? I'm like, where's my bonus? I don't see a bonus. He's like, I don't sign until after training camp. But that was the Wild West of like the mid 2000s of like weirdness around box, because that's when the NLL was trying to get in more guys that could run the floor a little bit more and more Americans into the game. And now like you see a proliferation of that. And there are certain teams that buy way into that and certain teams that definitely don't and are straight Canadian and native focused, as they should be if that's what they want to do. I just think that box is such it's interesting because here in New England, we don't have any box teams anymore. We have the I guess minor league, if you want to call it that.
Sure.
Of the American side playing, and there's like 4 or 5 teams here doing that, like Nor'easters, Northmen, Rhode Island Rampage, Stallions, like all those teams are still around, but there's no pro teams here. So, which makes no sense, by the way, because there should be, because there's like a growing fervor for box in this area. And I don't know, it's just my random story of NLL that I've never told before, and I've never had the occasion to tell it, but that was the night where I was a random guy's agent who got drafted in like the 6th or 7th round as like a throwaway pick from like, I think it was the Bandits. I think the Bandits actually, Kilgore drafted him. I think he was talking to Kilgore and pointed back at me, and I was like, hi.
Hey, that's my agent over there.
Yeah, it's my agent. Why is he 5'7"? I don't know. We got him lifts yesterday. He didn't wear them.
Yeah.
Sorry. Oh, and you didn't ask questions. I'm just spiraling.
So I barely even played field lacrosse growing up. I didn't play a lick of box lacrosse. When I watch it now, I still am like, it's a different sport. It really is. Like, it's not just lacrosse and performance. It is a different sport. And just the way the offense moves, and even Kyle, you're saying positions you're playing. I didn't even know that was the name of the position in box lacrosse. I'm a novice at best at box lacrosse. Just kind of for people like me, describe how you would describe the difference between the two sports, how the offense flows, I mean, obviously I know the number of people in the field is different, but just like the way the offense moves in box lacrosse versus field is so astronomically different. You can't even comprehend it. Just kind of, what was that switch like to you? And just how would you say are the biggest differences between?
Yeah, that's a great question because, and I'm building a box 101 course right now, and actually laying out how how you run in a box offense is complicated to describe. So you're not wrong for feeling that way. And I think what makes it so hard is the mentality that you are absolutely looking for the best shot you can get. And it really doesn't matter how that shot happens. You kind of have to figure it out, right? And then you have all these concepts that you can use to get this shot. But if you can get a good shot from a good shooter with your hands free, 10 seconds into the possession, that, we kind of got to live and die by that. And so it makes it really hard to process because you have to throw in decision-making in a tighter space while trying to execute on these concepts, and you're getting hit off ball. So it makes it really tough to kind of build the layers, which is why I think box is an extremely good way to start playing, because it kind of gives you that. I always think of box as a reduced version of field, meaning you don't have as much time to react. So you kind of have to be more efficient with your movements, your defensive angles, the route you take to the net, your stick work, etc. So finding ways to, simplify the game is super important. And so it kind of starts with like, what do you do? Well, you come out, you look for a good shot. How do you do that? You move off ball, you pass the ball to anybody who's open, right? As long as they're in good position and it's going to shift the defense, we move the ball. And then from there, it's kind of a free for all about how you go about it, like what your skill sets are. Do you have big guys on the floor that can punch holes? Do you have quick little guys that like can get to the net and get underneath? So it's about providing knowledge and comprehension of how to use that knowledge.
There's kind of a notion that box translates to field, but field doesn't really translate to box. Would you say that that's pretty true?
I don't, I was thinking about that yesterday, actually. And I think that if you have really good field fundamentals, you should be able to assimilate into box. And I think also with the way we're seeing the NLL start to evolve now, you're seeing a lot of guys taking like sweeping shots, which when you look at Senior A and how they play, you don't see as many of those sweeping shots. It's more of like get over the top, plant your feet from the shooter position and fire it. So I think we're kind of starting to see this like mashup, especially the NLL. There's so much skill, right? It's like those guys are so talented at what they do. So I think it's the type of athlete you are. And I think the big thing that you have to have is you have to have a grittiness. Like without grit, you can't really play box lacrosse. And like there are really talented players who don't do well in it just because, they're used to having their hands free and working with more space. And that's totally fine if that's what you're, the game that you're into. But in order to be successful in box, you got to be gritty, I think, first and foremost.
It's all I have left. So that's why I decided to go play Masters. And again, Masters is supposed to be no contact, supposed to be like more like basketball with fouls. No, not at Laxnai. Not at Laxnai. It wasn't. It was full on. We played two native teams, the Kanawake and Onondaga. And the other team was kind of like was Tri-City from like, I believe that kind of that area, like New Jersey, Central New York, kind of grouping. And we got to the championship game. We won both 2 games and lost one to Daga. And then we lost to Daga in the championship. And we just got outplayed in a way that like we were hitting and we were getting all the balls, but we weren't finishing. Like we had like 100 shots and they just didn't go in, and we weren't patient, and we took the shots, and our transition guys were dying. And I remember going in there and being like, okay, what can I do? All right, I'm going to go and occupy this giant dude. And I ran full force into him like this, and I felt my arm give out, and I went, that's not good. And I kept hitting him, but it worked. It pulled him out, and we got a shot. But like, that's part of offense in box, which is strange. Like that, picking, sealing. I was just literally a seal. I was clapping like a seal. I seal everybody I could because I'm low to the ground, so I can get underneath your knee, push you over. Like you're not going to get over the top of me. So a lot of that was all I did. And I like barely touched the ball the entire tournament. And when I did, it was ground balls out of the stick immediately. And I remember I picked up a ground ball and switched it to get away from a check. And I was like, oh no, they're going to know I'm a field player, and immediately switched it back because the like stigma of that still like is burned into my head from back like, 15, 20 years ago when I actually like played Senior B. Is like, don't show them you can switch hands. Like, don't do that. And now like box is much more hybrid, where the thing that I love about it is obviously the grittiness is fun, and like there is no escape. You have to be tough, and you have to be able to hit and take a hit. Because if you don't, like, you're not getting off the field. Like, you have to do your job and get off, or you choose to stay on, and then you have to do a different job. And that's also difficult, right? So I think one of the things, we're talking about how box kind of integrates with field is I want to see, and it's kind of happening a little bit, more wing stuff in fields. And wing is, you can run a wing box offense. Like, obviously we're still going top down. We still want to get that shot, but you can create that from the wing in box, just like you can in field. And I think once that comes back, people are going to see it a lot more. Cause I think people are listening to this that are like, stopped playing lacrosse a while ago. And they're like, oh yeah, it's like Mark Matthews played box, right? Like, it's like one of those like crossover things of guys that like really came over and used their skills in a different way. I think now there's this give and take between box and field. And it's a very interesting mishmash of like techniques and philosophy. And, that's what kind of drew me to your account. Cause I'm like, oh, this guy's like talking in ways I can understand. He's not, you do have a little bit of a coach and ooh in your voice there. You've been in Canada a while. I can hear it. We got a little bit of that in New Hampshire. But I still like got what you were saying, and your communication style was very American, right? I mean that in the best way. Like it's easy for me to digest and understand. I know you coached a bunch of different places after your playing days, but now you're fully into this content creation of, being and having an education on how to play box and understand box and get better. I'm so curious how you saw that was first of all, you saw that was a void in the market. And second of all, how you were like, I'm going to do that. So that's what we talked about earlier, kind of bringing it back full circle.
Yep. Yeah. Yeah. Great question. So, I do have a little bit of an O and an A just because I worked on a farm up in Canada. So another unreal part of this story is the Billet family that I lived with had a farm, and I did hay up there. Right. So I got an education in being gritty, and, but the need really came from personal experience and, seeing what the American box lacrosse experience is, and having coached so many players, having been to so many men's tournaments and just talked to normal dudes that play lacrosse. And what I realized is because of the lack of information that's out there, a lot of guys that played field lacrosse, might be good field lacrosse players, don't really know what they're doing in box. It doesn't mean they're bad. They just don't know the fundamentals of it. And it leaves these little holes in the game, in their game. And when you go play real box players, you get exposed. And so for me, I just love this version of the game. I love field lacrosse too, but I've always been a person that I just like to share what I know. I think for me, I do best at when I'm helping out my community, and my community is lacrosse. And so just providing that information for people and being a resource for them, was kind of like my goal. Just hey, I'm kind of tired of seeing splits down the alley, in box lacrosse and shooting it with your outside hand. And I think these guys are doing it just because they don't understand what they should be doing. So rather than complaining about it, being a negative person, let's go put some stuff out on the internet and see if we can start to help people a little bit. And it's been really cool. It was really scary. I mean, as you know, you do content creation as well. And is it going to be well received? Are people, going to think I'm some arrogant, guy who knows everything? No, I'm just some guy who has had the opportunity to, coach under guys like Shaden Santos, Matt Brown, and Colin Doyle. And because of that, I learned, I feel like I learned a lot about box, and I feel like it's really a privilege for me to share this with others and help them learn the game. Because I think everybody wants to know, right? There's a thriving box lacrosse tournament, community. And now you have the NABLL that's really growing. It's kind of the best American box league there is out there. And they've really tried to standardize it. They have some good stuff going on in Colorado too. But I think everybody wants to know this stuff. I think, if you're out there playing, you want to know. And so it's my job to just help however I can.
I like your perspective on that, because talking about just the need for advocacy and growth. And that's kind of like I said, I started playing lacrosse my senior of high school, and I only started because there was more of a lax media, as even as small as it is now, smaller back then, but it got me to suit up and play. And that's what I want to get back to. If I can get one more kid to pick up a stick, I've done my job. And hopefully you have just done the same thing. You're making more kids sign up and play box lacrosse. And I thought it was interesting that talking about the difference between American box versus playing up there. And my boss, my head coach, Todd Zarek, he grew up in upstate New York, and he grew up playing box once he graduated high school with the natives and Canadians. And then he came down to Massachusetts and started playing here. And he said it was going down 10 levels on a video game. He was playing all bad, and now he's on rookie. And it's funny just hearing that from other people, the difference from just the different levels from down here to up there. Can you identify, if you're looking at a field game, do you think you could pick out who's the box players and who's not, and how kind of the difference, how they move, and what do you think that is when you see the field players, and what makes them stand out as box players when you watch them play?
Yeah, great question. You can't always pick them out. Americans are getting better and better hands, and more Americans are starting to play the box game too. So we're starting to get this hybrid, kind of like what you were saying, Kyle, where you're seeing this. Um, but you definitely can see certain things. Like, for instance, you can see, box defense is really hard because everything is happening really fast. But then you can also just get hit by the offensive players. Like you just see like some of the picks. It's like it's a full on hit, and um, so you can see that there's I I don't know if like a calmness would describe a box defender versus a field defender, but there's a little bit more time to think in field versus box. And so you can see, defensemen kind of like they can kind of float in space a little bit more and be positionally correct still. And they know when they need to apply themselves. And then I think with like, the offensive guys, which is what everybody's going to think about when you think about like a box lacrosse player in the field. I think you're definitely going to see it with the toughness in their dodging. And I think you're also going to, specifically going to see it with how low they get and how wide they get when they dodge so they can drive in because box guys are going to create a lot more contact off the dodge than a field guy is. When you look at a field guy dodge and you look at their footwork, they're a little bit more upright and they're a little bit taller because you need to be a little bit quicker and springier to attack that space in the field. You see where box, you have to create your own space. So when you watch a guy like Lyle Thompson, Jeff T, you see they really drop their hips substantially lower and they get a lot wider in their base and it allows them to drive into contact. And I think that contact that you see, that's like the number one, thing that I kind of see. You also see it in the ride, guys that work hard. You can see when they pick and choose when to sprint and when to chill. So like you can see, but I think that we're starting to close the gap, especially with the American women winning against Canada. And then, the American men, we did pretty good this year, our last year against the Canadians in the World Games, but we're slowly catching up.
Yeah, I think the contact in box is interesting because just I can tell you from my experience as a shorter guy, like guys get down to me in box and in field, they just hit me in the head. Like I get hit in the head every time I play field lacrosse. I just expect it. It's going to happen. And I rotate my helmets. But I've been hit in box by like, do you know who Kong is for Onondaga?
Oh yeah. He played with us one year in our Vegas tournament. Yeah.
Kong hit me in the 19 tournament at Laxnigh. And I was running with the ball and he squared me up and he got down. And when you're running, there's a stage of your running where your feet actually aren't touching the ground, right? You're transitioning. So I'm in that stage and I see him and I can't avoid him. And he hits me, but he hit me in the hip. And it was like a video game. I just did this. And then I kept running. And I was like, am I dead? Nope. Still got the ball, moved it. That's the kind of weird stuff that happens when you play box. It's like you get hit in ways that you would never get hit in field. And if you're not ready for that, that's the most jarring thing I think that's ever happened to me on a field where like this dude is gigantic, moved me. And I just went like a cartoon and kept running. Like that kind of stuff happens all the time in box. Cause you can't in field, you can slide, you can move to the side. But if I move here, I don't know who's behind me. That guy could hit me too. We played the Puerto Rican team. I played one game of open for Moon Bears and like a 16-year-old kid hit me in the back of the helmet and dropped me into the crease. And I came up mad and he was laughing and like helped me up. And I was like, oh, right. I'm playing box. Like that's the kind of mentality that happens is like, yes, it's super fast. It's super violent, but there's also like an acceptance of that. And like, if you go into box, like if you start playing box tomorrow, I think the strangest thing is how friendly everyone is because you're playing so hard and getting hit so hard. And then you're just like, hey, what's up there? It's like, sorry, that was my Canadian impression.
That was
pretty good, man. But that's,
we'll give it a 7 out of 10.
Yeah. It's not perfect. It's a work in progress, but that's kind of the thing that always sticks with me. And like, I loved going to Lax Night and being around all those people. Like we would stay for our whole game, just watch other games. And we watched
Mhm.
the women's game up there. That was wild because you
Yeah.
could tell that they were playing in a different way, but they loved the contact in a way that like they don't get in the other versions of their game. I'm not disparaging it at all. It's just a fact.
It's
Like
true. Yeah.
you're going to get more contact in a women's box team than you would ever get in field or sixes, especially. Right. So watching them, and then I talked to one of them afterwards, and she was like, it was so great. I hit someone as hard as I could. And I was like,
Mhm.
cool, right? And she's like, this is really cool. And,
Yeah.
like people are so excited when they get to do that. And people my age probably shouldn't still be doing it. But it is like an adrenaline rush too that I don't think can be replicated playing field. Is that fair or how you see it?
Oh yeah, I mean the intensity is just cranked up to 10 when you're in the box. It's hot. It's typically a little hotter in there, a little sweatier. Everyone's a little bit grumpier, but then everybody's also polite at the end of the day. There's not like a lot of machoism on the field because you got to prove it every shift. Like you can sit here and be a pretend tough guy and shoot the ball from the boards, or you can go cut the middle. And everybody knows who's actually a player and who's not because all you have to do is watch. Right. And then the cool thing is you see the girls play, and the girls, man, they're badass. The way they play, they're so tough. And like, you see them and the way they move the ball. And I was just watching the World Games, Canada versus USA the other day. And it was so interesting watching just the amount of skip passes that I saw the women making, much more so than the men. The men were a little bit more likely to play out a pick and roll, where the girls were just skipping the ball on these lanes. It's like, oh yeah, I see that. That's a great look. And man, that ball got through, and it's like really advanced high level play. It's still super physical. They're throwing all the fakes. And it's like these girls, they don't play with boy sticks growing up, but somehow they still have the ability to really be accurate with the sticks too. It's so fun to watch them play, right? And just watch the game kind of evolve.
Not novice box fan question coming in. Be prepared for this. Obviously, like in the field game, men's versus women is just a different sport. Like the rules are different. How people move on where it's a different game. Is that hold true in box lacrosse, where men's box and women's box is very different, or no? It's pretty much the same as opposed to where you get field. I've been watching women's lacrosse on the field for 10 years. I still don't know what's going on compared to men's. Is that true in box, or no? It's pretty much the same.
Yeah, box is 100% the same.
Okay.
There's not really any discrepancy. I coached women's field lacrosse for a season at University of Alabama Huntsville. And in the conference finals, I had to go up to the head coach and be like, hey, what was that called? Like, I still didn't understand it.
Yep. No, I need somebody to explain this whole, the whistle blows, but it doesn't end the play thing. Quite, I don't like what is going on.
Here's what you need to understand. And this is what I'm going to say. And this is true. And I don't care what anyone says to me. They have more skill than us.
Oh, sure.
Way more skill than men. And once we accept that, which we won't because we're stupid, once we accept that, everything will make more sense, because though their game is harder to break down. As someone I'm an analyst, right? Like I analyze every sport. It's hard to watch games with me because I'll just be like, watch this. It's like watching a movie with a writer, right?
Mhm.
Like watch this. This is going to happen. Check this out. Watch this. And then it happens. And they're like, how'd you know? And I'm like, I mean, I should know, right? Like I can't do that with women's lacrosse at all because they run hybrid zones. They attack from behind and the wing and up top at the same time. They run triple cutters. Their offenses are more complex. Their defenses are way more complex. Like try saying slide from the crease to a women's team. See what happens. It's not going to go well. Like you need to have a full on scheme. I have tons of respect for women's lacrosse, and it's so interesting that you're talking about the skips and their accuracy. Imagine playing your whole life and your pocket's this big.
Yeah.
And now your pocket's this big. Like all you have to adjust is the metric of where the ball releases.
Yeah, release point
in your mechanics, right? So that's why I think like that's why it was. I mean, I could tell it was the girls playing when I was at Laxnine and I could watch, but like if I was high up watching the ball move and couldn't see like the size of the players, I wouldn't be able to tell
Mhm.
because it's that fast. Like it's still fast and still physical, just like on ball. It's so physical, just like it is in regular box, but there's less, they were doing very complicated stuff. Like they were dodging from the top from the wing and two slide underneath and then a clear out and then a dump down. And I'm like, how'd that happen? You
Mhm.
have to like rewatch that. Like I probably learned more watching that than like I watched like Bulgaria play Greece and I was just like, this is just two people punching each other and trying to score kind of. This is
Mhm.
fun. This is an interesting way to play box. But the women's game will teach you a lot more. It's just in a way you don't really expect, I think. So
Mhm.
I think there's probably men's teams that were doing what that USA team was doing, and it doesn't work because they're stepping in the lanes, and then the defense will catch up. And it happens like this. Like the women's box has been around for not that long in terms
Mhm.
of international level. So you're only going to see it stack and be better. And the more the women's game grows there and in field, the more it's going to help everybody. Like, and
Yeah.
I just think I don't get to say that a lot because I think that people think that, oh, you don't analyze or cover girls across as much, so you don't think it's good. Like, no, I actually think it's better and it's way harder to play. It's
Yeah.
way harder to play. Like, sorry,
Mhm.
it's crazy. But I just want to get on, another trademark tangent before I ask another question. That's kind of how this podcast works. What happened to box lacrosse sticks? Why is everything a shovel now? It
What do you
used to
mean?
be. It
Tell
used to
me.
be
I don't know. What? Tell me.
like I went to Laxi. I'm looking around. Everyone's got a softball on their stick. I'm like, is everyone facing off? Like what is happening? Why is everyone widening their sticks? And then I go on Instagram. It's like, here's how to widen your stick. I was like, why would you do that? That's crazy. And then I got a Mark D because I was scared. I literally bought a String King Mark D. I was like, that's pretty wide. Maybe I can play with that. Everyone else has a shovel. I don't have time to change my sticks. And I just
Mhm.
bought that off the shelf and restrung it. Like it's a phenomenon in box of having people call it like the shovel. Like sticks they're not pinching them anymore. They're widening them. Which do you know when did that happen?
Honestly, I'm not a gear guy. I don't know anything about this. Like the sticks I use, like my equipment is 20 years old. I'll get like a new head and I'll just buy a pre-strung head from Dick's. Like, and I'll just use that. And that's like what it is. I think I wonder like I just bought a new stick, a new head actually, and I had an ECD Rebel, and I kind of like pinched it a little bit and used it, but it like slowly pinched more and more over the years. I don't know if it was just for me. It was a great head. I loved it. But like it got to a point where the thing was so small and so narrow. So maybe just the stick technology now, like if you pinch it a little bit and like squeeze it with your hands, maybe they're just naturally starting to like and everyone's like, oh, I got to find a wider head. I want to catch the ball. I don't know. I'm not a gear guy. No
Oh,
clue. No, I can't help you there. Sorry.
well, I'm a huge gear guy, and I was very confused because I
Yeah.
walked in and I was like, what? Everyone. I'm not talking like 3 or 4 people. Everyone had a softball jammed into their stick, like we see face off guys do it in field. And I'm like,
Yeah.
that why? And then I talked to one of my friends, Connor, and he's like, yeah, that's like a thing now. Everyone has like wide stuff so they can catch and like. I guess it
Oh,
makes sense if you're like not. I don't want to say not good enough, not skilled enough to like really play with a pinch stick, right?
yeah.
But at the same time, like I guess now with stringing and like all the different stringing you can do, it doesn't matter, and it's probably better to play with a wider stick to catch better. I don't know. You you don't do your kids sticks, do you, Owen? Because I do. That's
No.
why I was super interested. I was like,
No.
oh man,
I'm with you. I'm not a
I've
gear
tested
guy either. I wouldn't know anything. I'm not. No, not my forte.
Oh, well, it's
You're
here is
alone here.
interesting too. Like I have so my girlfriend's son is one of his friends just joined a box team here. like a real,
Okay.
like a travel team. And his parents always ask me like what he should get. I'm like, kidney pads. And they're like, what's that? And I was like,
Yep.
kidney pads, not rib pads. They're like, rib pads. I'm like, no. Kidney pads, hard plastic. They're like, they just said rib guards. I'm like, no. Look up box lacrosse, kidney pads, youth, get him back. And they're like, okay, why? And I was like, you'll see when you Google it.
Yeah.
Like, I don't want to tell these people that like their pregnant baby is going to get smacked around here, and he better have something this big to cover his vital organs, or we're going to be in a little bit of a problem. But I do think that what I think is interesting too is, and maybe you can speak to this, the proliferation of box travel teams is high enough that now there's like multiple ones in New England, which I think, you know, like, was it Golden Knights, Midnight Riders? There's a couple other ones around here. And kids fly in to try out for those, like from like Texas. I did a clinic for one of those teams. I won't say which one, but like I was there and I was helping evaluate some of the kids, and I was like, this kid's from Texas? He's got like a Texas helmet on. I'm like, what is he doing here? They're like, oh, he's trying out. I'm like, what? Like, and they have full box gear and it's custom. And I'm like, oh, club team is hit here. This is club box. Do you have an opinion on club box, not versus, but in addition to club field? Without getting in trouble. Don't get yourself in trouble. I can get in trouble, not you.
I don't care. Let them come for me. So it's so interesting, right? Because, you know, when you look at box lacrosse, a lot of kids don't have access, right? And so you're constantly trying to find that. And I think as a parent, you know, you're trying to find the best opportunity for your kid. And so in the club world, like we had in Calilax, we had kids fly out from Georgia and from, you know, BC and from New York to play for us. So I don't really care who you go and play for. What I think a lot of, you know, my 2 cents would really come to the parents, and say like, hey, you know, stop looking for the next best thing. Stop looking around for, you know, this new shiny object. Find a program that cares about your kid, that has men or women of character that are leading the program, and then make sure you support that kid. Make sure you give him, you know, and her the, you know, the confidence that they need to go and express themselves on the floor, on the field, whenever they're playing. And so rather than like going around and looking for the absolute best team to play for, and this is where all the 2027s are that are going to dominate, just find the right program for your kid. Focus on yourself, you know?
Yeah. Solid advice.
Do you say floor in box? You don't call it field? Again, I'm so novice. You call it on the floor, not on the field?
Yeah. So because
like I'm a noob right now. I'm outing myself as a no box guy. I watch a little bit, but that's about it.
yeah, bro, you're good. You're good. Don't, you know, there's no there's no barrier to entry to the box. Like you just play. But we call it a floor because they'll melt the ice, right?
Yeah.
Hockey ice, and then you'll play on the smooth
I've seen that a bunch of times.
So yeah, just a floor rather than being like on the field. It doesn't really make sense to say it's a field when it's indoors, you know?
Yeah. When we played last night, we played on carpet, but you're in hockey rinks. So there's ice in between, still frozen on the ground that
these weird patches. Yep.
They're just gonna pull it up. Like, and the thing I would do before I played, I would just stomp anywhere near the net and try to find the dead spot. I'm like, dead spot. And like that was like my job. It became like my job on the team where I was like, dead spot. And they're like, we found a dead spot. It's like, thanks, guys. I'm the 6th right forward. It was fun. It was a good time. Before I let you go, I love asking people this, and because I said I like stealing drills. What is your best drill to get better at box lacrosse, whether that's understanding it or stick work or anything that you want to pick?
Oh, wow. Gosh, I wish I had some video to explain it. I think one of the biggest things that you have to do. So, I think the best way to grow your box knowledge and comprehension is to focus on the transition and the subbing and, how that all plays out. So, I think Shaden made this drill, or he found it about 10, 12 years ago. I don't know, but it's a 3-on-2 off the bench. And then it turns into a 2-on-1 back the other way.
On the opposite side. Yep.
And then everybody has to sub off, and then you send new guys on. And when you get advanced, you can have 2 teams going. You can have goalies throwing the ball, which, if you're not familiar with box, like goalies has to be very good at throwing the ball. You look at every NLL goalie, they can put it on a rope. So when you kind of combine coming off the bench, pushing a 3-on-2, reacting back off of that break to a 2-on-1, and then you're subbing off again, and you have goalies throwing, like that's kind of the ultimate drill, I think, for me, as far as like box lacrosse and the pace that, I could, confine to one drill.
I'm going to give my favorite that I learned from you on your page. It's wall ball, but you're constantly moving linear and non-linearly. So approaching, hard pass, catch, maybe moving to the side, hard pass, catch, back and forth, changing your distance to the wall, but also getting the reps, and then changing your release and changing your catch point, catching it off the bounce, stuff like that. Like that sounds like, oh yeah, why didn't I do that before? But I think we're all programmed when we play wall ball, doom, 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 like that's all we do. And then the other variation you had was taps, where you're tapping the stick. I was like, oh, like I do have to change my stick because I play with the craziest amount of whip you've ever seen. Because I'm low to the ground. Everything is a twist and my wrist strength and a snap. So if I don't have a ton of whip, when I play box, I don't play the same way, right? Like you can't. If you're a perimeter guy in field and you go to play box and you don't know how to change your approach to get underneath or over the top, you suck. Like straight up, you are bad. You could find the best outside shooter from field, and they would struggle in box if they don't have a good face and they don't have good body control. They just won't get to the middle. It's too difficult.
You're talking about with the wall, like we're saying, like you used to just do. Like field lacrosse is more hard angles and hard cutting and hard dodging. Box, it's more less sharp. You're getting more gliding. It's like you're skating on the field a little bit too more than is a field is more hard angles, hard cuts. With box, you kind of have to like move at like you have to glide through it. You really do. You can't dodge the same way. It's so different. So that's probably why the wall ball is funny. You mentioned that's what made me think of that. It's really hard angle versus not. It's really funny that you pointed that out. I like that.
Everything's a lot tighter. Like if you miss a ball, it's going to hit a wall. It's not going to go out of bounds. You don't get a break. Like you have to find that ball. And someone threw like a crazy pass and bounced past me, and I dove to try and get the ball. Because if it crosses over, the other team gets the ball. And I'm not ashamed to say this. I'm sure it's on video somewhere, but it's under paywall, so no one will ever get it. My pants came like down. Like my shorts came all the way down. So like there's a video somewhere from Laxney, from the Open, when I played against Puerto Rico, of me. Oh no, that was against when we were playing Tri-City. I dove and my hip caught on the turf and my pants went all the way down to my knee. And I was like, oh, butts out. All right.
Yeah, and I
missed it too. Like I missed it by like this much. I dove and everyone's like, oh. One of those. Whoa. And I was like, get up, run to the box. I ran to the box. I probably should have stayed, but I was like, short side, let's go. But I want more box on this podcast. I want to cover it more because I think it's so exciting to play and to break down, but you need a different skill set to break it down. And I'm still like acquiring that. And to me, that's exciting. Like I'd rather do that than spend 5 times as long to try and figure out women's lacrosse, to be honest with you. Like I have tons of respect for it, but it is so complicated to me.
Yes,
it is. Foreign, even though it's the same thing. Like I have parents asking me all the time, like, well, what's the difference between girls lacrosse and boys lacrosse? I was like, the only thing's the same as the goal and the ball. Yeah. And then the look on people's faces. Like if you're talking to a non-lacrosse person about lacrosse and you go, well, no, it's just the ball and the net
Yep.
and everything else is different. And they're like, how's that possible? I'm like, I didn't make it. I don't know. But it is a totally different sport. Like even to train it, like I've trained women's lacrosse players before with like, you can do jab steps, you can do a lot of similar things, but the stick technique is different, just like it is in box. So,
Yep.
I love talking about box with one of my friends. I got to introduce you to Ryan Conwell, one of my good buddies, runs Moon Bears. I don't know if you know him yet, but I'm literally going to send you his phone number after this because I told him I was going to have you on today, and he's like, "Oh, that's awesome. Tell me how that goes. Like, I want to learn about that." So I think people know who you are in the space, and hopefully this podcast gets out to more people. More people can check it out. I think your content is awesome. Like, I don't like the C word that much. I don't like saying content that much because it
Mhm.
kind of makes me feel like I'm chained to a typewriter and just doing this all the time. Um,
Yep.
Even though I am. Uh, but I just think it's awesome. And I really want to thank you for coming on and sharing all your experiences. It's super cool.
Yep. Well, thank you for having me. All I wanted to do was help. And so I'm really glad that, you said it helped you training for Lax Night. And that's my goal. And that's my agenda. Just like get everything out there, let people help. We're going to be doing a lot more here. But a lot of the stuff that we're trying to do is just like put it out there for free inside of a community. So people get access to more, a little backstory. I started playing in 2000 in California. Right. And like, there was nothing. I watched Mark Millen's offensive wizardry video over and over again. And that's how I really
And
learned the game. That's what I had. And I was lucky to have a couple coaches around, but not a lot. And there wasn't a lot of off-season opportunity for me to play. And so just like making it, I always craved that community, like what you guys have up in New England, right? Where I was just that lacrosse guy. Like I was that lacrosse guy. And then I turned into the box lacrosse guy. And because that's what everybody knew me as in California, right? And so, opening up this community and making it larger for people, especially in non-traditional areas that don't have good backings of lacrosse or foundations, like that's the goal, man. That's the agenda. So I'm really glad it's helping. And, we can call it content with me. It's okay. But, I'm just glad it's helping.
yeah, tell everyone where they can find more of it.
Yeah. So I'm at the Box Lacrosse Guy on Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube. I have a link in my Instagram bio for a online training community. I'll be in a strong cadence starting next week of, 6 kind of workouts or, even a little bit of like mindset / leadership stuff. I think that kids and anyone really like learning how to, organize themselves better so they can better lead themselves and then lead others is super important in development. So kind of just trying to tackle it holistically and help people learn. And then we'll have like, series on, breakdowns on, Box 101 offense and defense and how to read goalies and all this stuff. So you're really exciting. Everything's on my Instagram. That's the best place to find me, at the Box Lacrosse Guy.
Awesome.
Yep.
And we want to thank you again for listening. New England Lacrosse Journals, Chasing the Goal podcast, your own heart, Untitled Chapter. See you next time.